And the woman said to the serpent, we may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, God has said, you shall not eat it, nor shall you touch it, lest you die. Now, a lot of people say, well, she added to God's word there. Well, not necessarily. You can't eat it unless you touch it. Now, here's how the seed of the enemy works in you. So she'd already thought about it. And she knows that if she touches it, she could be tempted to eat it. So this doesn't come out of the blue. You got to consider how sin works. So you didn't just commit sin. You were tempted first, and you thought about it. It crossed your mind. So it's no different in her case. It crossed her mind that I wonder what that tastes like. Well, if I touch it, I might be tempted. Well, maybe that's not the right word. She knew she wasn't allowed to do it, so she wasn't going to touch it. So she felt it was forbidden to touch it. Does that make some sense? The serpent said to the woman, you shall not surely die. They don't even know what dying is, okay? There is no death on the earth. They don't know what death is. It doesn't mean anything to them. The Satan, through the serpent, is literally saying, God's holding out on you. There's something he knows that you don't. Yeah, there's a lot he knows that they didn't know even, obviously, okay? But he's using it as a hook, okay? So Satan will use whatever he can against you as a hook. What can he hook you with? A thought, a word, someone walking across your path that you need to look the other way. So he says you won't die. God knows that in the day that you eat it, your eyes will be opened and you will be as gods, knowing good and evil. Now listen, they were already gods. They were already had their eyes opened. But the knowledge of good and evil wasn't for them. It was the one thing God keeps for himself. Yes, God creates good and evil, but the evil is only for him to deal with, because he can deal with the dark side. There has to be a dark side of light. Now, this may sound strange to you guys, but there is no light unless there's darkness. Darkness isn't even a thing unless there's light. God knows the other side of the coin, but he's the only one in the universe that can handle the other side of the coin. It's not for you. That's why the tree was his. The knowledge of it was his, because he's the only one that can cope with that knowledge. So the disobedience came because they took something that was only God's. God said, that's mine. There's a land somewhere in the Middle East that God said was his. And they're fighting over that too.